Hey everyone, I'm Eliza Thornton, 34, a Denver-based software architect who turned family betrayal into a $15 million legacy. Picture this, I'm in a courtroom, staring at my parents across the aisle as they sue me for $600,000, claiming I owe them for raising me. They expect me to bankroll my sister Sadie's dream mansion, a $1 million house in Cherry Creek, while I've scraped and saved for my own modest home. The judge is about to deliver her verdict, and my parents' smug confidence is seconds from crumbling. Before I dive into how this moment reshaped my life and sparked a movement for financial independence, drop a comment with where you're watching from. Hit that like button if families ever tried to guilt-trip your success, and subscribe for stories of grit that'll inspire you to stand your ground. I grew up in Durango, Colorado, a small town nestled in the San Juan Mountains where the air smells of pine and the Animas River hums through the valley. My parents, Roger and Diane Thornton, ran Thornton's Tools, a hardware store that kept us afloat but never flush. From age 10, I was taught the value of $1. My $5 weekly allowance came with a ledger to track every penny. Want new sneakers or a movie ticket? Save for it. No handouts. By 15, I was bagging groceries at City Market, then scooping ice cream at Cream Beanberry through high school. My hands sticky with fudge, my mind sharp with budgets. Money's earned, not given, Eliza, Dad would say, poring over my savings passbook like it was a sacred text. They pushed me to chase scholarships, and I delivered, securing enough to cover 75% of my tuition at the University of Colorado Boulder for computer science. The rest came from 2 jobs: mornings steaming lattes at a campus cafe, nights coding in the computer lab. I lived in a shoebox dorm, ate instant noodles 5 nights a week, and wore thrift store sweaters. I graduated in 2013 with $12,000 in loans, paid off in 2 years through relentless frugality. My parents clapped at my graduation, proud of my discipline, but I didn't see the strings attached to their pride. My sister Sadie, 3 years younger, lived in a parallel universe with the same parents. While I balanced ledgers, Sadie got cash for new jeans or concert tickets, no questions asked. When she wanted a spring break ski trip to Telluride, Mom wrote a check. Sadie's more creative, less practical, Mom would say when I pointed out the double standard. You're the responsible one, Eliza. She needs us differently. It hurt, but I buried the resentment, thinking love meant accepting their favoritism. Sadie coasted through high school, her allowance a free-for-all, no ledgers required. After graduation, she drifted through Colorado State, switching majors 5 times: art, psychology, fashion, theater, then back to art, stretching college to 7 years, fully funded by our parents. She'd drop out for self-discovery trips to Tulum or Austin, returning with new tattoos, a nose ring, and no plan. Meanwhile, I moved to Denver at 22 for a junior developer job at a fintech startup, coding mobile banking apps that felt like solving puzzles. Over 12 years, I climbed to senior software architect, earning $180,000 a year. But I stayed frugal, renting a 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill, driving a used Subaru I bought with cash, packing peanut butter sandwiches for lunch. My dream? A $150,000 down payment for a modest condo in Wash Park, a goal I'd nursed since college. Sadie's irresponsibility only grew. She bounced between jobs: barista at a Lodo coffee shop, clerk at a Larimer Square boutique, yoga instructor in Reno, never lasting a year. Our parents covered her $2,000 a month downtown rent, paid off her $20,000 credit card debt from Coachella trips and Gucci bags, even bought her a Jeep Wrangler when she needed reliable transport. Sadie's still finding her path, Dad would say when I voiced concerns. My voice tight over Zoom. Not everyone's as driven as you, Eliza. At family barbecues in Durango, Sadie showed up in fresh outfits from Cherry Creek boutiques, raving about rooftop bars and Red Rocks concerts, all while working 20 hours a week at a candle shop. I loved her. She was my sister, the girl who'd once braided my hair and shared secret giggles. But the inequality burned. Still, I built my life. Promotions, a 401k, $150,000 saved for my condo. When I mentioned my home buying plans to Mom on a call, her "that's nice, dear" was tepid, no excitement. I thought maybe they'd surprise me with support at the family dinner they invited me to in April 2024, a Sunday drive to Durango. I couldn't have been more wrong. The 4-hour drive from Denver to Durango was familiar, winding through mountain passes, the Rockies glowing under spring sun. My parents' split-level home smelled of Mom's sage-roasted chicken, my childhood favorite, and the dining room was set with her vintage floral plates, reserved for holidays. A bottle of Cabernet sat open on the counter, breathing like a guest of honor. "Eliza, punctual as ever," Mom said, hugging me, her new silk scarf brushing my cheek. Her hair freshly dyed auburn. Dad checked his watch, giving me a quick pat. "No traffic on 160?" he asked, pouring wine before I answered. "Smooth drive," I said, scanning the room. "Where's Sadie?" Mom waved a hand, too casual. "In Santa Fe with friends. Last-minute getaway. You know how spontaneous she is." The table was set for 3, and a strange tension crackled. Dad's watch checking, Mom's forced smile. Dinner started light. They asked about my job, Denver's cherry blossoms, a sci-fi novel I'd raved about. But Dad kept glancing at his watch, and Mom refilled my glass before it was half empty, her hands fidgety. After we polished off the chicken and roasted vegetables, no dessert came. Instead, Mom cleared the plates, sat down, and Dad straightened, his voice oddly formal. "Eliza, we've got exciting news." My heart lifted. Maybe they'd celebrate my condo plans, which I'd mentioned briefly. "We've helped Sadie buy a house." I froze, fork mid-air. "A house? I didn't know Sadie was looking or had savings for that." Mom laughed, too brightly, her earrings glinting. "You know Sadie. When she falls in love, she dives in. It's a stunning place in Cherry Creek. 3 bedrooms, marble counters, steps from boutiques and cafes." My mind spun. Cherry Creek was Denver's priciest neighborhood, where homes started at $800,000. "That sounds expensive," I said, sipping wine to mask my shock. "It's an investment," Dad said, his tone firm. "The market's climbing, and it's a top-tier area with excellent schools." "Schools?" I asked, confused. "Is Sadie planning kids? Is she even dating?" Sadie's Instagram was a reel of solo trips, mojitos in Miami, sunsets in Santorini, no hint of settling down. Mom and Dad exchanged a glance, and Mom slid a manila folder across the table, its edges crisp. "Here's the thing," Dad said, his voice tightening. "We took the mortgage in our names. Sadie's credit isn't great, as you know. But with retirement 3 years away, we can't cover the payments." My stomach plummeted. I opened the folder. A $1 million house with a $900,000 mortgage, monthly payments at $5,200. "You're not serious," I said, voice low, hands trembling. "You want me to pay for Sadie's house?" "You've got a great job," Dad said, jaw set. "Your savings are more than enough." "More than enough?" I snapped, pushing the folder back. "I've saved for years for my own place, a condo I can afford, not a Cherry Creek mansion." Mom reached for my hand. I yanked it away. "Family helps family, Eliza. Sadie needs stability to thrive. You know how she struggles." "Where's Sadie?" I demanded, voice rising. "Does she even know you're asking this?" "She's in Santa Fe," Dad said. "And yes, she knows we're discussing this. She was nervous about your reaction." "So she's on vacation while you ask me to fund her dream home?" I stood, shaking with disbelief. "No, absolutely not." "Eliza Jane Thornton," Dad said, using my full name like I was a disobedient child. "You've got more than you need. Sadie deserves a nice home too." "I've worked for every dollar," I shot back. "Sadie's never kept a job longer than 6 months. She's never saved a cent." "That's unfair," Mom said, tears welling, her voice quivering. Sadie has different gifts. Not everyone's as disciplined as you. Discipline isn't a gift, it's a choice, I said, grabbing my coat. One you've never expected from her. The argument spiraled. Dad lectured about family duty, his voice booming. We sacrificed for you. School supplies, coning camps, gas to drive you to competitions. Mom sobbed, claiming I'd always envied Sadie's free spirit. They listed every small favor, new sneakers at 14, a $200 graduation gift, forgetting I'd funded my own college, paid my loans, lived on rice and beans to save. If you don't help Sadie, Dad warned, his eyes cold. You're not the daughter we raised. I stood at the door, heart pounding. Maybe I'm better than that. I left without touching the mortgage papers, the chicken sitting like a stone in my stomach. The drive back to Denver was a blur, mountain roads fading as their words echoed. More than enough. Family helps family. For days, I ignored their calls and texts, each one a guilt-soaked dagger. Sadie's heartbroken. We raised you to care about family. After all we've done, Eliza. I buried myself in work, coding payment systems at my low-high office until midnight, but their betrayal clawed at me. Had they always seen me as a financial ATM for Sadie? On day 5, a knock woke me from a fitful nap. Sadie stood at my apartment door, eyes puffy, mascara streaked. Eliza, please, she said, stepping inside uninvited. I love that house. I didn't know they'd ask you to pay it all. Her gaze flicked over my IKEA couch and thrift store art with a flicker of disdain. You're not even using your money for anything fancy. I live within my means, I said, arms crossed. I'm saving for my own place. You could still help me, she insisted, her voice pleading. You make bank at your tech job. Her words sparked a realization. You knew they were asking me for money, didn't you? Her blush betrayed her. Not the whole mortgage, just like a little help until I'm settled. Settled? I said, voice sharp. You've been settling for a decade, Sadie. When does it end? She argued, her voice rising, claiming I'd always judged her free-spirited life. You're so perfect, Eliza, with your budgets and your boring apartment. Live a little. The fight escalated until she stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle my neighbor's picture frames. I sank onto the couch, shaking, but my resolve hardened. I wouldn't bend. A week later, my Aunt Marla, Mom's sister from Fort Collins, called. Eliza, what's this about you refusing to help Sadie? I braced for judgment, but Marla sighed. I told Diane this was a terrible idea. They drained $350,000 from their retirement for Sadie's down payment. At 65. I was stunned. My parents had gutted their savings for Sadie's mansion, expecting me to fix their reckless choice. Family opinion fractured. Cousins sent passive-aggressive texts. Family first, Eliza. My grandma called me selfish, but Marla and my Uncle Greg stood by me, appalled. They've enabled Sadie forever, Greg said. This is insanity. Worried, I met Priya Sharma, a financial advisor in Cherry Creek. She reviewed my accounts and warned, protect yourself legally. They're desperate and might escalate. I thought she was overreacting until a certified letter arrived 10 days later. My hands trembled as I opened it. My parents were suing me for $600,000, claiming I'd verbally promised at 17 to support the family for their investment in my education. A complete fabrication. Attached were forged emails and letters, dated from my college years, with typos in my name, and an email address I'd never used. The court date was 6 weeks away, May 2024. Panic hit like a freight train. Chest tight, vision blurring. I slid to the floor, gasping through a panic attack. After steadying myself with deep breaths, I called in sick to work, my first absence in 3 years, and booked an emergency appointment with Fiona Caldwell, a family law attorney Marla recommended. Fiona's Lodo office was a calm oasis, lined with legal texts and a view of Coors Field. She reviewed the lawsuit, her hazel eyes narrowing. This is absurd, Eliza. but not harmless. Frivolous lawsuits can still cost you if we don't fight smart. Discovery revealed the extent of their fraud. Emails with inconsistent fonts, letters from a non-existent address. This is perjury, Fiona said. Their case is weak, but we need a fortress of evidence. I spent weeks compiling proof. Bank statements showing I'd been independent since 18. Scholarship letters covering 75% of my tuition. Pay stubs from college jobs. Emails thanking my parents for minor gifts, but confirming no ongoing support. The process was grueling. Insomnia gripped me. I lost 8 pounds in 3 weeks, and my cone at work grew sloppy, earning a gentle warning from my manager, Leo. "You okay, Eliza?" he asked after I botched a payment algorithm. I deflected, but my coworker Nadia noticed my decline. Over lunch at a Lodo deli, I spilled the story. "My family tried something similar," she confided, pushing her salad aside. "They sold my car to pay my brother's debts. Being the responsible one feels like a curse sometimes." Her empathy was a lifeline in a sea of judgment. Friends and colleagues often assumed I'd done something to deserve this. A week before the hearing, I ran into Sadie at a Capitol Hill coffee shop, its windows steamed from espresso machines. I hadn't known she was in Denver. She wore $400 boots and carried a Prada bag, her nails freshly manicured. "Are you happy now?" she shouted, drawing stares. "You're tearing our family apart with your greed." I kept my voice low. "I'm greedy? You're living in a $1 million house our parents can't afford while they sue me for my savings. They gave up everything for me," she shot back. "Dad's talking about unretiring to pay the mortgage," began of the sentence. "They'll lose the house. Then sell it," I said. "Get a place you can afford." "I'm not selling my dream home because you're stingy," she snapped. "I deserve nice things too, Eliza." "Deserving isn't earning," I said, walking out, her words ringing in my ears. The encounter confirmed she'd moved into the Cherry Creek house, banking on winning the lawsuit or guilting me into paying. The hearing was at Denver District Court, a stark granite building under Judge Naomi Rivera, a jurist with a reputation for seeing through emotional manipulation. I wore a tailored navy blazer and skirt, hair in a low bun, aiming for professionalism to counter any selfish daughter narrative. My parents sat across the aisle, Dad in a sharp suit, exuding confidence, Mom clutching a tissue, avoiding my eyes. Sadie was absent, but cousins, my grandma, and an uncle sat behind them, their glares heavy. My side had Marla, Greg, and Nadia, their presence a quiet anchor. Judge Rivera opened with a piercing question. The plaintiffs claim a verbal agreement from when Miss Thornton was 17, with no written contract. My parents' lawyer, Victor Hayes, a slick downtown attorney, replied, "A family understanding, Your Honor, rooted in trust." Rivera's eyebrow arched. "And the emails supporting this understanding are disputed as forgeries?" Victor hedged. "A matter of interpretation, Your Honor." Dad testified first, crafting a tale of sacrifice. "We drove a 15-year-old truck so Eliza could attend coding camps and math tutoring," he said, voice steady. Victor asked, "Was there an agreement she'd repay this by supporting the family?" "Absolutely," Dad lied. "She promised to help Sadie if needed." Fiona's cross-examination was razor-sharp. "Mr. Thornton, did you pay Eliza's college tuition?" "We contributed," he said. Fiona presented my scholarship letters. "These show 75% of her tuition came from scholarships and work study. Your contribution was $6,000 over 4 years, correct?" Dad shifted. "Roughly." "And since graduation, has Eliza relied on you financially?" "No," he admitted, begrudgingly. "She's responsible." Mom's testimony leaned on emotion, tears flowing as she described Sadie's sensitive soul needing a stable home. "Eliza's abandonment hurts us all," she said, voice breaking. Fiona was respectful but firm. "Mrs. Thornton, has Sadie held a job longer than a year?" "She's had challenges," Mom said. "Never, correct?" "Yes," Mom whispered, head bowed. "And you've given her $400,000 since she was 18, while Eliza received nothing?" The courtroom stirred, Mom nodded, eyes down. My testimony was nerve-wracking but clear. I never promised to fund my family, I said, voice steady. I've been independent since college, saving for my own home. Fiona showed the forged emails, highlighting typos and a fake email address. Victor's cross-examination was aggressive. You resent Sadie's lifestyle, don't you? I love my sister, I said, but enabling her isn't love. Sadie's surprise testimony was a blow. She entered in a plain dress, far from her usual flash, and cried about needing the house to start over. Fiona asked, Miss Thornton, are you employed? Between jobs, Sadie admitted. And the $5,200 monthly mortgage, how did you plan to pay it? Eliza was supposed to help, she said, as if it were agreed. Did you discuss this with her? No, but Mom and Dad said she would. Fiona's final question cut deep. If you had to choose between the house and your sister's trust, which would you pick? Sadie paused, then said, I deserve that house. The room went silent, her entitlement stark. After 2 days, Judge Rivera delivered her ruling. The plaintiff's claim rests on a verbal agreement with no credible evidence. The emails are forgeries, a serious offense that destroys their credibility. Parenthood is not a loan to be repaid. Miss Thornton has no obligation to fund her sister's lifestyle. She dismissed the case with prejudice, ordering my parents to pay my legal fees. Looking at them, she added, family is about mutual respect, not financial leverage. Reflect on the damage you've caused. Dad shouted at Victor, you said we'd win. Mom collapsed in tears, relatives glaring as Fiona ushered me out. Outside, I posted a TikTok. My parents sued me to fund my sister's $1 million house. I won in court today. Your worth isn't your wallet. #boundaries, #family drama. Set to Taylor Swift's I Did Something Bad, it exploded. 3 million views, 100,000 likes, comments flooding in. Icon, you're my hero. A week later, my apartment was vandalized. Ungrateful, scrawled in loopy handwriting on the wall. Drawers dumped, nothing stolen. I knew it was Sadie, though I didn't press charges. Too heartsick. I stayed with Nadia for days while repairs were made. Marla called. My parents were selling their Durango home, their retirement gutted by the $350,000 down payment and legal fees. Sadie had moved into the Cherry Creek house, but was now with a cousin. The house listed for sale. No victory joy came, only grief for the family we'd lost. 6 months later, I closed on my Wash Park condo, a 2-bedroom with mountain views, bought with my savings. Weekly therapy with Dr. Lena Patel unpacked the betrayal trauma. You were parentified, forced into adult roles early, she said. Sadie was infantilized, never held accountable. That wasn't your fault. I joined a financial trauma support group, bonding with Nadia and others who'd faced family exploitation. I rebuilt, planting a balcony garden with lavender and sage. Hiking Mount Falcon with a Denver meetup group, volunteering to teach coding to teens at a community center. My nonprofit, Thornton Empowerment Code, launched with a fundraiser at the Denver Botanic Gardens, raising $600,000 to teach financial literacy to young adults, turning pain into purpose. Sadie texted an apology months later, admitting to the vandalism and sharing she'd started therapy and a steady job. I'm paying you back for the damage, she wrote, sending $250 via Venmo. It was a start. We met for coffee, tentative but honest, agreeing to rebuild slowly. My parents, now in a modest Arvada rental, haven't reached out. Dad works part-time. Mom's a library aide, their first job in decades. I grieve the family I thought we were, but find peace in my chosen family, Marla, Greg, Nadia. My nonprofit, Thornton Empowerment Code, teaches financial literacy to young adults, turning pain into purpose. The lawsuit didn't break me, it forged me. Share your story of setting boundaries below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'm Eliza Thornton, and this is my legacy. Build yours.